Hey guys, so today we are talking about carbohydrates or sugars. Actually, today it is just me. I am really passionate about this topic, so I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about it and maybe change your mind, change some behaviors, or perhaps you already know all of this. We're gonna find out. So when I say carbs, carbs are good, but we have different kinds of carbs. And I'm not talking about the things that we find in your fruits and your vegetables and other things like milk. Okay, those carbohydrates come when they're in a fruit or a vegetable. They come wrapped up with fiber. They have enzymes, they have vitamins, they have minerals, right? And phytonutrients and all these things are a complete package. I am specifically talking about processed carbohydrates, right? And in this case, we have refined flours and we have processed sugars. So first I want to talk about processed sugars because those are they're a real problem and it's really prevalent in all of our food. So I just want you guys to be aware, and then I want you to maybe think about that as we're making choices. So one of the big things that is a problem with processed sugars is that they create free radicals, right? And we know that free radicals are what wreak havoc in our body. They are the same things that, cigarette smoking and too much sun exposure cause. So we know we want to reduce or eliminate, that kind of free radical damage as much as we possibly can. Because we have to remember that when we're getting a refined processed sugar, it doesn't have the vitamins, it doesn't have the minerals, it doesn't have the fiber. It's kind of an anti-nutrient because our body has to take, has to pull calcium and magnesium and all these things from our actual body in order to metabolize this incomplete nutrient. Sugar, unfortunately, processed sugar does contain calories. So even though it's not a very good nutritional value, we do get that out of it. So it contains calories, and we know that it can spike our blood sugar. So we get these excess calories that we don't necessarily need, and we also get a blood sugar spike. So there's two kind of double whammies against us to start with, because we don't want our blood sugar to spike. That kind of tells our body to start storing fat. We don't want excess calories because those are also going to get converted and stored as fat. So that's two really big reasons, right? We've got it causes free radicals, and also because it gets stored as fat. The other really big thing is that processed sugar negatively affects our gut bacteria, and our gut bacteria is incredibly crucial and important for our health in general. And the more research they do, and the more that they find out about gut health, it's huge. It's so important. We know that your intestinal microbiome plays a really important role in modulating risk, for several chronic diseases: diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular disease, inflammatory bowel disease. It can be a whole ton of all sorts of things. So the problem with sugar is the processed sugar, what they find in studies is it promotes the growth of the bad bacteria in our gut. And what we really want to do is we want to promote the growth of the good bacteria and hinder the growth of the bad bacteria. But if we continue feeding our guts processed sugar, then we're going to continue reaping the unfortunate benefits of that. I shouldn't call them benefits, should I? The unfortunate side effects of that. It's pretty crazy because if you look at what they're doing with our gut health and how important it is, right now they take fecal transplants, right? So they take the feces from a healthy person. Oh, where did my thing just go? Sorry, they take the feces from a healthy person and they transplant it into the gut of maybe somebody that is dealing with obesity. And what they find is once they change that gut microbiome, that their health improves. So it's crazy, right? We can actually transplant poop, and now you can take a poop pill. They have fecal pills. So we know our gut health is super, super important, and we don't want to feed the bad bacteria. We want to feed the good bacteria by eating things that are full of fiber and nutrients and things that our gut can actually use. Okay, so we've got free radicals, we've got stores fat, we've got the fact that it messes up our gut microbiome. And then, of course, the other big thing is that it also negatively affects our immune system. So sugar can reduce your immunity, which that's a problem, especially for for you guys, if you're distance athletes or just athletes in general and you're training hard, we want to keep up our immune system and stay healthy as we're training. And processed sugars are really bad about not helping, not supporting our bodies in doing that. All right. I'm really, really passionate about this because when you guys eat a donut or a cupcake or anything like that, you are fully aware that you are eating some processed refined sugar. The problem is it's hidden in everything we eat. It's like absolutely ridiculous, okay? So I thought about just putting some pictures up here and saying, oh, here it is here and here it is there. But I wanted to walk this path, this journey with you. So I went ahead and went to the grocery store, grabbed some things off the shelf, and just started looking at the ingredients and kind of just, I hope this is eye-opening, or maybe you guys already know this and that's great. But I just want to bring this awareness that we have to read the ingredients on everything because it's hidden everywhere. So I'm gonna, hopefully my editing works out okay. I'm gonna show you guys some of the ingredients that I picked up and sort of where we find sugar and all the places it's hidden. And then I will talk at the end of that, after we talk about all the hidden sugars, then we'll talk a little bit about refined grains, which are another form of processed refined carbohydrates. Okay, so our first stop in the grocery store is we're going to grab a can of beans because we know beans are a great healthy choice. We know they're full of fiber. We know that they contain protein. We know that they're full of carbohydrates. So we're going to just toss that in our cart because can of red beans should be red beans. Unfortunately, we're going to flip the can over because we need to always do our homework first, right? And we're going to read the ingredients. And if we go through the ingredients, you guys can all see that unfortunately, for some reason, we can't just have red beans and water or red beans and water and salt, but we have red beans and water and salt and processed sugar. Okay, continuing on, we grabbed some healthy bread because when we look at this, we're like, oh, it's 100% whole grain. It's got all these, advertisements, markers on it that it doesn't contain artificial flavors or whatever it is it says it doesn't contain, right? They're real big about letting you know what's not in it so you don't flip it over and check and see what is in it. So among other things, one of the things in our ingredient list is brown sugar. So that is still a form of processed sugar. So well darn. Now our beans and our bread both have sugar in them. But that's okay. Moving on, we'll look at chicken broth. That seems like a good, healthy, solid choice. And I picked this brand. It says clearly organic, so we know that, that part's great. More expensive, nicer, healthier brand. So why on earth would we have added processed sugar in our broth? Well, we do. And I will tell you, it is pretty hard to find a brand that does not contain added processed sugar. They do exist, but you will have to do your research and you'll probably go through and read about 7 or 8 brands that contain it until you find one that doesn't. So there's some more sugar. Well, but what about our staples like mayo? Okay, this one looks good, right? Olive oil mayo. So I see the olive oil. I think, oh, good, they're using a more higher quality oil. This will be great. Toss it in the cart. Right? Well, you guys know by now we don't toss anything in the cart without flipping it over and looking at the ingredients. And unfortunately, a simple thing like mayonnaise that you can make at home with eggs and oil becomes this thing loaded with all kinds of ingredients. Sugar, processed sugar, being one of the ones that is also included in that list. But, oh goodness, what about a super simple thing like vegetables? Surely they wouldn't mess with those, right? Of course, we all know the answer by now. But sweet peas are sweet naturally. They don't need added sugars to be sweet. What's going to happen when we flip the can over and read the ingredients? Well, we're going to see, yep, there is added sugar in also our canned vegetables. Now, if you buy a frozen vegetable, this is way, way, way less likely to happen, but it still can happen. I know I've picked up some bags of cauliflower rice and seen that they have added sugar to those. So there's just no way you could stop reading the ingredients. It's really important to just read, read, read. Well, what about this healthy looking spaghetti sauce, right? It kind of looks earthy and all natural. Of course, because we're good at marketing, or they are good at marketing, if we do what we are supposed to do and we flip it over and we take a look at the ingredients, what we're going to find is that yes, of course, they have added processed sugar to our spaghetti sauce. Now, at some point they are supposed to tell us on the label what the naturally occurring sugars are and what the processed sugars are, so we can actually see how much sugar they've added, but unfortunately that has not happened yet, so we're still kind of in the dark about reading that. Okay, and then we have any processed meat you look at. If you get turkey breast, you get sausages, you get bacon, it's pretty much a guarantee that those are going to contain some type of added sugar. Again, they get you at the front with the no, let's see, what do we got here? No artificial flavors. So we think, oh, look at what it doesn't have, and then we have to still take the time to flip it over and look and see what it does contain. And then the last one is this yogurt, because I find this so ironic, right? We eat yogurt because it's so good for our gut with all that healthy bacteria, but almost all of the yogurts, unless you buy plain yogurt, almost all of the yogurts, that you're going to buy at the store are going to contain, if we look, see, just give a second, added sugars, right? So here we are trying to feed our gut healthy bacteria, and then we load down our yogurt, and you can see this is an ingredient near the top of the list with sugar. So fat lot of good that does for us. Again, just have to keep reading those labels so we know what's going on. The other refined carbohydrate or processed carbohydrate that I want to talk about are refined grains, okay? So that's refined flours. I don't necessarily have a problem with grains per se, although some people with autoimmune issues do tend to do better without them in their diet. However, most of us can include grains in our diet in a way that supports our health. And just kind of as a side note, I should say the way we eat grains is not as nutritious as the way we used to eat them. We tend to not soak or sprout our grains anymore. When we do soak or sprout our grains, and you can buy sprouted, grain breads and tortillas and things like that. The cool thing about sprouting is it helps sort of release more nutrients because we have this thing called phytic acid that binds up some of the vitamins and minerals and makes them less available to our body. But if we soak or sprout them, then, we get a little bit more nutrition. So that was just a side note for you guys on that. What I do have a problem with, though, is the grains that have been refined. And you'll know this if you read the ingredient list and it says something about enriched flour. This means that they took the grain, as we can see, I'm going to show you a pic here in a second, and then they've stripped it, right? So they've removed the outer shell that contains important things like fiber and B vitamins, and we've talked a lot about fiber, we've talked a little bit about B vitamins, and we know those are really important. So let's take a look at this. Here you can see that we have this outer layer, the bran that has the fiber and the V vitamins, and it's going to have some other stuff going on. And we're going to remove that and strip it so that won't be part of the food. And then we'll also remove the endosperm, and so all we're left with is the germ, right? Which is great, except now our nutrient profile has really changed. If you take a look at this, you can see what they've taken out, then what they had to add back in order for us not to have diseases, like nutrient deficient diseases like beriberi. Here's the thing, they've added all this back in, but it's still really unbalanced and we still don't have all the nutrients we need. So that's really unfortunate. The other thing we need to remember is that even though a product says it's 100% whole grain, that doesn't mean that it is 100% whole grain. It can contain 100% whole grains within the product, but the product itself might have a little bit of whole grain and a lot of refined grain. So you have to, again, do your due diligence and read your labels. So my challenge to you guys is to please, please, please read the ingredients on everything you eat, everything you are buying. Whether you think it looks good and that surely they haven't messed with something, please double check. Always read your ingredients, do your homework. You'll be amazed at how often they mess with their food when they don't really need to. It's just totally unnecessary. So I hope I have convinced you guys to maybe at least really reduce the amount of processed carbs in your diet. And if nothing else, don't take my word for it. Be your own guinea pig. Take some of these items out of your diet for a month and just see how you feel. Okay, so with that, I hope we make some positive changes, and let me know if you guys have any questions. Have a great week.